Hey Arcturian Starseeds, welcome to Starseed Energetics. My name is Bora and I'm going to be reading your September energy. This month is going to be such a profound month for you. Not that it's not going to be like that for other ones, but other Starseeds, but you especially. I'm usually gauging and calibrating the energies that I'm going to need to read, and then I pick the Oracle card decks. But for you, I was drawn to pick the Mayan Oracle, which is probably hands down the highest frequency deck that I have. And as a result of that, I don't usually reach for this deck, probably a few times a year, because most of the energy doesn't calibrate to this level. But you have this energy this month. So something incredibly huge is going to happen. Something incredibly huge is going to materialize. And it's not just in the way that it manifests in this world, but it's more like the way you are, how you live, the way you perceive things, more energetic than anything. A huge message that's coming through before I even get picking the cards is that you have to remember that you're creating the pathways. You have to pretend like there's a huge field of snow, and instead of looking for a path that somebody's already walked, you're making these footprints in the snow. So whenever you discover a situation where you have to make a certain decision or you have to come up with a solution, instead of looking back in history of past timelines, I would really recommend that you tune into your deeper self and even pull results from a future timeline or an ideal timeline instead of looking for other examples. Because probably until now, that's what you've been doing, is you've been looking for societal constructs to make sure that what you're about to create is in alignment with the mass consciousness, but that is over where you should keep doing that. You have to start making your own ways to get things done, or how you're going to be, and just be comfortable with the fact that guidance from higher realms is going to seem like not as visceral as they used to come, because you're more integrated with the higher dimensional aspects of yourself. And as a result, it's not going to be as clear, because you know, it's a hint that your own thought processes have become that synchronicity. And that's so similar to this new myth card that's coming. It's an entirely new myth. It's so funny because this new myth card, it talks about there's no more roadmaps anymore. If you find yourself and you've been guided to this moment of your life, following some kind of roadmap to how to get here, for example, how other light workers have previously trotted this path of humanity, and how certain teachers and gurus have done it, and how certain entrepreneurs have achieved success, how certain abundant millionaire have achieved their fortunes. It doesn't apply to you. You've come to a place where everything you're about to do doesn't have a long-term trajectory, but because you're so integrated and because you come from this solar monadic aspect, even more than just an Arcturian, because when I do these starseed readings, it's not necessarily that I'm putting a label on where people come from, but dependent upon which archetype of a star system you come from and what you're drawn to for that month and what you end up watching, it's just an energetic categorization. But everyone comes from everywhere, and the most important source of your inspiration comes from the sun, which is the monadic aspect of our observable universe. And how it's going to be from now on until the rest of your eternity, until you shift paradigms or octaves in another completely different multiverse, is that it's going to come momentarily, moment by moment, straight from the source of life, instead of looking at these different blueprints. So I'm going to use myself as an example. When I was really young and I read The Ugly Duckling, if people have seen my Starseed Awakenings video, they'll notice that this ugly duckling narrative of having a negative downfall and then having an exponential growth after that was a blueprint that I resonated with, and it got me here. And so if you have some sort of a blueprint that drove you here and a roadmap that drove you here, it's time for you to really acknowledge where you're at now from that roadmap, but also understand that you have to release it, because from now on it's a new canvas, and you don't have this kind of way that you're going to go follow step by step, but it's going to be moment by moment where you're getting these constant synchronicities and signs for the moment. And likely you're going to find yourself in a situation, in many different situations, where it's a completely new ball game of using your navigation skills through this universe. So what I want to remind you is to tune into the organ of your heart, which has that toroidal field that you can resonate with the source of life, and make your momentary decisions from there. But whenever you find yourself and your emotional state is not completely in bliss, I want you to question if you're following your heart, because it's a clear indication that you're deviating from the resonance of your heart. And don't have regret when you fall into these moments of negative emotions, because it's a beautiful kind of redirection that will make you calibrate even more, calibrate even deeper, and you keep continuing to align with your higher self more and more in that way. So that's that. Center yourself, center yourself. Center yourself constantly whenever you find yourself in a space of not having this absolute alignment. It's an opportunity to center yourself, mind, body, spirit, and emotion. When I'm tuning into your energy, even though this isn't written in the cards, but when I'm intuiting your energy for this month, I feel a deep sense of sorrow. And it's not in a way that is negative. It's just, I don't even want to say that it's a purging, but it's more like, you know, when something's about to be over and you're all of a sudden just appreciating it. Like, do you ever have those moments where, let's say you find yourself in a relationship that's just been long overdue to cut out of your life, and you realize that it's really coming to an end, and everything that used to trigger you about that person, all of a sudden you start to appreciate it. You're like, oh my god, like, this relationship is over. And I don't know if you know what I mean, but I have those moments, like, even when I'm in a certain location and I'm so fed up with that physical location and I just want to move and I just want to move, and all of a sudden I feel this energetic shift towards this physical environment that I used to get so fed up with. And then I start appreciating the little quirks, because I have this realization that even if I don't have solid proof yet, I just feel the definite shift that I'm going to be moving away. That reality has literally been merged. And I feel like this is how you kind of feel about this deep sorrow and other emotions that are associated with that kind of lower frequency state of being, whether it's lack of consciousness or sorrow or jealousy or anything that doesn't resonate anymore. You're gonna have this moment where you're like, wow, what a strange emotion. I guess in some ways it was such a unique experience. And this month you're going to be having moments like that towards these emotions, because you're not going to be having them anymore. And a lot of the times you're going to realize that it hadn't been your own, but it was just an intuition of the collective pool of emotions. And you're not going to be resonating with that anymore in the upcoming months. That's such a beautiful message. I just want to cry. And whenever you do feel that emotion, you're able to really center yourself and pave your own way out of it. Like this neural cognition, like this cognitive pathway of surfing out of these lower states have become so effortless for you now. It's like this ebb and flow. I just almost feel like that message was so profound, and I really feel it so deeply for you. And some of you guys will watch this and you'll know what I'm talking about. And I just want to send you so much celebration and love for what you've done, because that's so huge. You've evolved so far that you're able to move away from that density of emotions. This moon. So you know that the moon, because this ebb and flow is so highlighted here, and you know that this moon is an artificial satellite that kind of gets in the way of our primordial dissemination of prana, because the moon is just in between us and our monadic source of the sun. And when you're transcending this and you've learned to kind of really work with this pull in an infinite matter, do you know what the next evolution for the resonance to the moon is? It's actually Neptune. And Neptune is the most spiritual planetary body. It's so transcendent of this emotional body. It's just a spiritual body, and that's where you go when you transcend from this dualistic pull and push from the moon. So I would ask you to connect with the planet of Neptune and start to have conversations with it, because Neptune isn't a planet that is often highlighted in astrology. Like, a lot of people talk about the moon and Venus, Mars. People don't talk about Neptune that much, but you can. And the last card that comes up is Chip, which talks about your resonance with universal source just as much as this new myth card, which is really, really, really synchronous, right? And it also talks about tuning into your heart and having this thinning of veil between you and your higher self. So when I talked about this elimination of roadmaps and elimination of clear guidance, because it's so integrated within you, and now your clear guidance is so integrated with your own thoughts that it feels like there's no guidance anymore, but in reality it's just more integrated with your own thoughts. And so whenever you feel like asking higher dimensions for any kind of direction or advice, what you should do is tune into your heart and ask yourself in a deeper level, and tune into your own awareness to a point where you're not distracted by your mental body or your emotional body and your physical body, and looking at that pure state of awareness and asking that question. Tune into your heart center, and whatever answer comes up is your answer. And most likely it will be if I want to break this down for you, whenever you need some kind of advice or you need some kind of situation, I want you to tune into the different timelines of each of the outcomes, remote influence yourself into each of the outcomes and the different timelines that are going to be fractured from making a decision, and then see which aspect of yourself, which version of yourself is feeling the most blissful, because that state of bliss is a clear indication that you're in alignment with your highest self, the highest version of yourself. So that's that. A crystal that I would really recommend for you this month is celestite. And Archangel Michael is the angel that I would ask you to invoke whenever you feel that you want some sort of a angelic guidance. So this is my celestite named Michael. It's my lover. I love you. And he wanted to be here for this reading, actually. I don't always bring out mineral companions for readings, but he wanted to watch over your reading. So similar to that is the energy of this oracle deck, so I'll read that for you. It's definitely something else, right? Because I usually start out with tarot cards, and I was just telling you how you have a responsibility to create your own pathways, and so it's starting out with oracle cards because they're less archetypal energies of the observable universe. They're more sub-categorized versions of mingled energy. So if the tarot cards are a direct refraction from source energy into different elements and any archetypes that come up from those elements, oracle cards are like when levels emanate from those energies, and levels and levels and levels and levels, like these sub-dimensions that have been created. And it's like a whole new breed of energy categorization. It's like perception of perceptions, like an inception of perceptions. And just because I said that your guidance is going to be more internal, it doesn't mean that you should feel alone. You can often outsource your internal guidance and, you know, ask your tools and ask your guides, but just knowing from a space where you have all the answers you need, but just to segregate the different voices in your head, the different pools of thoughts in your head, in your body, in your heart, in your gut. You can outsource it. You can intend to outsource that towards your deck or your crystals, pendulums, whatever you like to use for divination. But it has to come from a place where you understand you have all of the answers, but you're just kind of separating it like oil and water. So I definitely see you really heightening your extrasensory perception in terms of these subtle bodies of communication. And so definitely your third eye is going through a huge evolution, and the way you interact with the realm that is behind your third eye, underneath or within your third eye. And no matter what, don't compromise the level of frequency that you have for the earthly kind of pulls that you get this month, because you need to learn by now that you have to prioritize your frequency. And even if there are certain responsibilities that kind of ask your frequency to step down in order for you to deal with it, if it's something that you can avoid, then avoid it. Like, for example, you know, random social functions that you don't need to attend, then just prioritize your frequency for now. Because this month you have a lot going on. And I would even say that there's guidance systems that are merging with your collective consciousness that has not been there before previously in this incarnation, that are supposed to come into your life at this moment. And everything in your life is going to be some sort of a symbol that you're going to have to learn to decode. So be very mindful of what's occurring in your environment. And I think that's the end of your reading. I mean, I think that's enough. So thank you so much for tuning in. Sorry for my very serious energy. It's not me, it's this energy that's coming through your reading. It's very serious. I'm fine. I'm totally happy and fine. And after this reading, I'm probably going to be like jumping around and doing things. But this energy is very serious. You're going through a lot of really profound shifts this month. When are you ever not? But thank you so much for tuning in. I love you guys, and I will talk to you guys later.